again, welcome back to episode number 38 of Travel Talk. Today's episode, not the most exciting episode in the world. It's kind of more about the small things that you have to make sure that you get right while you're away travelling, such as getting an Australian phone number, sorting out your CV, looking for jobs on Australian job websites. So just be kind of running through those sorts of things just to, give you kind of an idea of what you have to do while you're away. And so we'll get straight into that. So yeah, yesterday was the first full day in Australia. It was a successful day apart from the fact that it rained consistently, which is a common pattern that you'll discover quite often in these first few videos in Australia. There's a lot of rain. And so yeah, it rained quite a bit, but that didn't dampen our spirits. You see what I did there? Rain dampen. Oh. And yeah, we had a good day, walked around, saw the Opera House and everything, but today was a different day. So I woke up about 9 o'clock. The flu symptoms that I had the first couple of days seem to be going gradually now, so that was good news. And yeah, headed out of the hostel at about 10ish, headed down to the Optus shop, which Optus is basically EE in Australia. I think they're actually under the same company because they've got the same logo. But yeah, Optus is a phone provider in Australia. It's mainly Optus and Telstra in Australia. They're the two big ones. Basically, Optus is very good for a lot of cities, whereas Telstra is a lot better to have when you're in the outback or places that aren't as well inhabited, because Telstra have a kind of wider signal band than Optus do in those areas. So, obviously being in the city, Optus was the one to go for, which meant that I then had an Australian phone number, which obviously is good news because that would come in handy for applying for jobs, but also for contacting people locally. And back home as well, obviously, because it meant they could get hold of them. So that's good news. Optus do a really good package as well with international minutes. It costs 5 pence, I think, a minute if you ring the United Kingdom from Australia. So, which is obviously really good when you think about it for price-wise. So yeah, got that sorted. Headed to McDonald's for a McDonald's breakfast because God bless McDonald's and their breakfasts. Like I've said before, Australia don't do the best McDonald's breakfast in the world. It's not as good as America and Britain, but it's acceptable, it's edible, you've got to make the most of what you've got. So, yeah, did that, like I said, got the phone, had some breakfast, headed back to the hostel, but I stopped off in a few shops just to have a little look around, basically. It still was raining, like kind of drizzly, but I made it back to the hostel about 10 minutes before it absolutely hammered it down. And by hammered it down, I mean it was like sheets of rain hitting the floor. And, yeah, I was glad I wasn't outside in that, put it that way. So yeah, I was back in the hostel. It was raining heavily outside. There wasn't much I could do. So I decided that I was going to ring my great aunt because she lives in Australia. I was going to ring her, see how she was. Obviously, it's nice to talk to her at like a reasonable time because normally if I'm in the UK, she rings me. It's like a very weird time difference. It's late at night for her or it's early in the morning for us. So it was nice to talk to her at a normal time. It was like midday. It was like, it's a miracle. So yeah, I did that. And then I decided that I wasn't going to do much that day. So I literally sat in the room and watched Netflix. I watched 22 Jump Street and I watched Wolf of Wall Street. Obviously a street theme here. If I'd watched Coronation Street, we'd have had the trifecta. But these things happen. And that took up about 4 hours of time. Took me up to kind of like dinner time. And by then I was quite hungry, and so I headed down to Sidebar, which was the restaurant slash cafe slash bar that was attached to the hostel. Had some food there. Headed back up to the room after that, and just got an early night because there wasn't much else I could do. It was still hammering it down with rain outside, so decided screw it, have an early night. And then the next day, woke up at about 6 because the two German guys that were in our room at the time were being arseholes and wouldn't shut up. So, and they were actually leaving at the time, so they left at about 7, which is when I got up. Got dressed, headed out about 7:30, went and got coffee and a big muffin like I did on the first day. And, because I'm so healthy, obviously. Because who else has muffins and coffee for breakfast every morning, basically? That's me. But yeah, headed back to the hostel after about an hour there. Started doing some work on my Australian CV. Now, Australian CVs and English CVs are very different in quite a big way. Whereas an English CV, a lot of potential employers want you to list everything that you've done, so every job, every qualification, every school grade, blah blah blah, because they want to know everything about you. Australian jobs, because a lot of them are hiring backpackers, they don't want to know as much about you. They'd rather you just list maybe, like, if you've had, I don't know, 10 jobs, they want you to list the 3 most important ones and then the 3 most important skills you've got. They don't want to hear everything that you've done in life. They just want kind of the highlights, which is understandable, like I say, because they're hiring a lot of backpackers. It's more of a, they want to pick the best backpacker more than pick the best person for the job. It's kind of, yeah, I mean, like I said, backpackers we weren't getting paid that much to do certain jobs while I was in Australia. And yeah, they obviously look to hire more backpackers because they are cheaper, they don't have to pay them as much. And it's understandable that they would do that because if you're a business, you want cheaper labour. But yeah, that's where it comes in with the CV thing. They don't want to hear every single job you've had. But yeah, I was doing my CV. I was listing the jobs that I'd had in England and skills and blah blah blah. And after a few hours of job searching and CV building, I got very bored sitting indoors, so I decided to brave it in the rain and make my way down to, there was a huge undercover market down the road called Market City, and it was about 10 minutes walk away. So I decided to go there. It was mostly like outlet shops and cheaper shops, but it was a perfect place if I was to be buying, I don't know, clothes for going to work, or I don't know, anything of that variety, shoes for going to work. You want comfortable shoes, then that would be the place to go, because obviously you want stuff to last, definitely, but you want it to be cheap because you're obviously on a budget from travelling. And yeah, it would definitely have been the place to go and buy that sort of thing. I didn't actually buy anything that time that I went, but I did in future episodes. I'll say like what I bought. And yeah, while I was there, I decided to have some lunch, and they had a food court on the 3rd floor. So I had an English breakfast and a coffee, which came to about $8, which is pretty good. This was a far better English breakfast than that dodgy, terrible one that I had in Santa Monica. So I was quite happy with that. It was the first one I'd had since then, so I was a little bit nervy, but it's all good. And yeah, I wandered around Market City for a few hours, and then headed back to the hostel again, just because it was still raining, and the rain didn't seem like it was going to stop all day, and there wasn't much else to do in the rain. So yeah, sat in the room again. The room was quite warm, so it was nice. Luckily, looking at the weather, the next day was going to be better, and then progressively after that it was going to improve quite a bit. So in the next episode, I went to Bondi Beach with the Dutch girl Suzanne that I went to the Opera House and that with on the first day. So we'd be going there, having a little wander. There was quite a long walk around Bondi Beach that you could do. You'd have to get the bus there, but you could do a long walk. So that was the plan. And yeah, this is where I leave this episode. Next episode will be Bondi Beach. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. The episode before this, admittedly, I've put annotations on it, but I forgot to put music on the photos at the end of it. So I apologise for that. It was a little bit boring just being silent, but these things happen. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, always give love to my face. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. See ya.